Previously on Power Reviews. Kind of an aspiring author. Still looking for a publisher. So I'm doing a web series.
I still can't believe you told him he could live here.
Can you remember anything from before we met? Maybe you should worry a little bit less about whether or not I'm real, and a little bit more about yourself.
Kay! No, I do not need a co-host. And I have my apartment back, and I have a date! I have a publisher!
What?
You do not exist.
What do you mean, disappeared?
Database Ranger? I'm an author.
You will wait here until further notice.
I wonder if there's a bathroom around here. Alright. Not the end of the world. Just two guys in suits chasing after you with guns. No big deal. Now I just gotta figure out a way to get away from... Guy!
We need to talk.
What? And now, Database Ranger's Power Review. Greetings, Ranger fans, and welcome to my hiding place. Feels like I've been holding that in for the last 2 weeks. I can't believe that worked. Okay, no more talking to myself. Just gotta be quiet. No talking. Nada. Zip. Zilch. Silencio. Do I speak Spanish? Never mind. Focus. Just focus on being quiet. You can do that. Do that all the time. Sure, you're usually asleep at the time, but that shouldn't matter. You can do this. It'll be easy. Just like that time Cassie had to do it. Oh, Cassie. There's something I can focus on. I'll just keep my mouth shut and my mind focused on episode 35 of Power Rangers in Space. Silence is golden. The cold open kicks off on the Astro Megaship, with Andros marking the pink and blue Psycho Rangers off their oversized graphic. I wonder where they got that printed up. Kinko's 35? Anywho, the Psycho Rangers were created as extremely dangerous doppelgangers, and have been the primary opponents for the last 4 episodes, exempting that one instance of Carlos with the little girl. Their power comes directly from Dark Spectre, the Grand Monarch of all evil, and the most powerful foe the Power Rangers have never actually fought. Now, Psycho Pink was only defeated due to a catfight gone bad with Psycho Yellow, and Psycho Blue by virtue of TJ's brilliant monochromatic strategy, which is probably the closest thing we'll ever get to a Forever Blue episode. So the Rangers are still very much aware that even with the 2-to-1 odds in their favor, they're not out of the woods yet.
I have a feeling it's the calm before the storm.
Meanwhile, the remaining 3 Psycho Rangers prep for their next battle, updating their voice recognition software to avoid falling for another 5-of-a-kind trick. And considering how much they rely on tracking gimmicks, they should probably update their GPS while they're at it. Though the Psychos are chomping at the bit to destroy the Rangers, their boss Astronema demands that they bring them in alive, knowing full well how much energy that will take with only the 3 of them, and just how much it will affect Dark Spectre. As they depart, the Princess of Darkness's right-hand man Ecliptor cautions her on the dangers of her plan.
No one ever said destroying Dark Spectre would be simple.
Now, there are several possible reasons for why she might want to destroy the Grand Monarch. First is the most obvious. When he had her brainwashed and reprogrammed into being evil, Darkonda did too good a job, creating a treacherous villainess with an intense lust for power. The second reason runs deeper. On a subconscious level, she may still hold resentment for being kidnapped as a child and raised as a villainess, which might explain why one of her first acts following her reprogramming was to dispose of her former kidnapper Darkonda, and why her next would be to enact a plan to eliminate the Overlord that commissioned him. And finally, she might just hate him for becoming the spokesmonster of Astronomos. Part of a completely evil breakfast. But enough backstory, let's count down to awesomeness. Flying higher than ever before are our Rangers, including Ashley, our Earth expert in mall culture, fun, fierce, and feisty Cassie, interstellar loner turned leader Andros, his best friend and former human popsicle Zane, the self-doubting but still loyal Carlos, and former Turbo leader TJ, now acting as team strategist. They battle Andros' long-lost sister Astronema, formerly known as Corone, while Bulk and Skull hunt down aliens, which, all things considered, is probably the easiest job they've ever had. And if I wasn't so focused on keeping my mouth shut right now, oh boy would I be rocking out! The Psychos teleport to Earth and each don disguises. Yellow as Neptune's daughter Marina, Red is a Troy impersonator, and Black is a guy who still thinks mullets are cool in the late 90s. They begin their systematic search, while an oblivious Ashley chats with her mom from within the antique device once known as a phone booth.
I can't figure out what to get, Dad. I know, I went to the hardware store. I mean, what do I know?
I would hope a lot, especially considering that auto shop course she took back in Turbo to prove to her dad that girls are just as good with a wrench as guys are. It's okay, Ashley. Plenty of people would like to forget Turbo. The psychos hear her and leap into action, with Psycho Yellow especially excited about capturing her quarry. But fortunately, during that moment of hesitation, another brunette in a yellow shirt and black miniskirt takes her place. Maybe Delicia and Evil was right and Ashley really does have a future as a fashion trendsetter. Around the corner, Ashley quickly realizes that they're no typical psycho stalkers, and hurries back to the megaship to warn the rest of the team. Unfortunately, Cassie is still on the ground shopping, and without the ability to speak to her or even contact her communicator without alerting the Psycho Rangers, Andros suggests they utilize the ancient Earth art of paging. Bet they wish they had Antonio's texting powers right now. Was worth a shot. Can't seem to get any good cell service around here. Cassie heads straight for the phone booth, walking right past the disguised psychos somehow. Maybe they should have upgraded their eyes instead of their ears.
I've tapped into the phone line.
I'm surprised Alpha didn't get a government job after this. Anywho, the Rangers recap the premise for her over the phone and warn her to get moving fast.
Just hang up the phone and start walking away as far as possible.
And while looking as scared and suspicious as possible, don't forget that part. Not exactly the most subtle of escape attempts. She runs into several obstacles along the way, realizing just how hard it is to keep the mute button on, as she deals with multiple awkward encounters with other shoppers by pouring on that silent charm. Come on, admit it, that was adorable. Unfortunately, before she can get to safety, she spots a baby carriage about to go over the edge of a high staircase. So she goes to save it, right? Just runs right up there, right? Yes? No? Maybe? Doesn't want to draw attention to herself, I guess. Better poke somebody else and point it out to them so they can save it. There we go, plenty of people. Just poke one and point. Poke and point. Yes? No? Maybe? Running out of time, and we all know it takes at least 3 minutes to rescue a baby carriage, so... Well, I guess she did all she could. Realizing that she basically just launched a flare for the psychos, she immediately starts running away. Just like she probably should have done in the first place. I see no shame in this. She pops out from behind her hiding place to make sure the coast is clear and teleports away, attempts to casually walk away. And quickly finds herself cornered by the disguised psychos, before being joined by something even more terrifying. A rainbow-haired clown.
Who is this clown?
We don't have time for his foolishness.
Actually, it's just Zane, whose voice the psychos don't recognize for some reason, and who quickly dodges around the corner, leaving them alone until...
Those Psycho Rangers were easier to fool than we thought. That's her! The Pink Ranger!
No, that's the Pink Ranger. Why did Astronoma's forces seem to completely forget what the Rangers look like after she was brainwashed? Seriously, for years, monsters have had no problem finding Power Rangers in the midst of mundane activities. And yet the Psycho Rangers have to rely on auditory triggers, Vaxacker indiscriminately lumped them in with ordinary civilians, and Frightwing seriously mistook Bulk, Skull, and Professor Phenomenus for being Rangers. Either Astronema is subconsciously trying to protect her former friends by shielding their identities from her forces, or Darkonda seriously poked the wrong part of her temporal lobe. Anywho, while the psychos chase after Zane and his incredibly high quality and oddly prophetic recording of Cassie's voice, the rest of the Rangers joyfully reunite and prepare to finally face off against their terribly tunnel-visioned doppelgangers. The ensuing battle is fierce and in the Space Rangers' favor, as they pair off and work together to take on the three villains, finally forcing them to revert to their true forms, looking like a trio of demons straight out of the Shadow World. Actually, come to think of it, Psycho Yellow does bear a resemblance to Queen Banshira, and Psycho Black does look like a pale-faced Magmavore, and Psycho Red, well, no analogy's perfect. The malevolent monsters grow big and gang up on the Mega Voyager, And although Zane arrives to help with the Mega Winger and Delta Megazord, even the combined attacks of the three Zords still isn't enough to keep the Psychos down. Psycho Black snags the Mega Voyager and starts dragging it into a vortex, while the other two keep the Delta Megazord and Mega Winger busy, until finally the Rangers have no choice but to abandon ship, dragging along a reluctant Andros as they are forced to watch their greatest weapon fall into the hands of their greatest enemies. With this battle lost, the Rangers immediately return to the Megaship and begin searching for their lost Megazord.
It could be anywhere, another dimension.
Of doom?
Another galaxy.
A lost galaxy? Meanwhile, a scheming Astronema reassures her ailing master, Dark Spectre, and returns to her dark fortress to prepare the Psycho Rangers for their final battle against the Power Rangers. And that's the end of the episode. So, what did I think of it? Well, it's a fascinating example of how context, or lack thereof, can simultaneously help and harm a story. For instance, knowing that past villains have almost never had difficulty finding unmorphed Rangers in public before, and knowing that past Rangers have almost never had difficulty running off into a corner and teleporting away at a moment's notice, severely undermines the premise of the entire episode. However, by the same token, knowing just how great a challenge the Psycho Rangers have been in the past, and that no single Ranger has been able to hold their own against them in a one-on-one fight, does help increase the otherwise undermined threat. But on the other hand, without the context of the preceding episodes, viewers can easily be lost in understanding the severity of the threat, or the complexity of the relationships between the villains and heroes. But on the other hand, that lack of context would also prevent an inexperienced viewer from noticing the aforementioned inconsistencies. But on the... How many hands am I up to now? Never mind, doesn't matter. The question is, with all these factors working both for and against it, does it hold up? And the answer is... yes, it really does. And that's because of the concept. Speech has become such a natural part of the human experience that we often take it for granted. The idea of not only taking that ability away, but also placing someone in a situation where any sort of speech will lead to their immediate destruction at the hands of unseen, lightning-fast, demonstrably powerful foes taps into a primal, predator-prey feeling of fear that all humans can relate to, thus leading to inherent dramatic tension. But what really makes this episode enjoyable is not just the ability to relate to the characters, but also seeing how these characters react to fearful situations. Despite clearly being afraid of the Psycho Rangers, the Space Rangers never flinch in their encounters, actually taunting them when the time comes to finally face them. When they transform into monsters,
you don't scare us even a little bit!
And when they steal the Mega Voyager.
We'll find it.
This is what makes them heroes to aspire to. Overall, the flawed premise and clear plot inconsistencies of this episode are outweighed by the strong concept, pre-existing character dynamics, and a clear sense of powerful optimism in the face of adversity. And on top of all that, it sets things up nicely for a final confrontation by ending on a dramatic cliffhanger.
You never should have brought him in.
Well, it's too late for that now.
Well, let me know the second that you find him.
I wish I was that brave. Whoa! Guy, we can work this out, right?
You want us to take him down?
No. Allow me.
Red light now! It was worth a shot.
I'm sorry I have to do this. We need to talk.
What